All right, guys, welcome once again to the Whole Being series. I've got someone I've been admiring as a guest on my podcast. We have been challenged to get this podcast going, but as Amber said, third time's the charm. So I'm so thankful, honored, and blessed to welcome the amazing, powerful, inspiring Amber Valdez to my podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. What a gift. I'm
Yeah,
really excited for all the
likewise.
listeners. It's going to be a juicy, juicy show.
Yeah, as always, every time I hear you, I'm like, whoa, this is just juicy. Every time you speak, it's kind of like juicy. So, kind of, I want to get into your story a little because I'm kind of fascinated by it as well. One of the things I love to do when I do podcasts with people, like some people research people like crazy and they just know so much about them. I only like to know enough to have a conversation so I can actually be almost like going through the journey with you as well as my audience at the same time. So I kind of want to start with, the first obvious question, which is kind of like how you got into this field, because obviously everybody's always taking the hero's journey, and the hero's journey is whether or not someone listens to the journey and actually understands the lessons, as opposed to blaming life and pointing the finger at others. And then some people ride that journey, obviously, and know that it's a truth, even if it's a painful truth. As my teacher always says, the pain teacher arrives in our lives to teach us a lesson to upgrade our software,
Oh,
which
that's good. I love that.
yeah, I love that. So just kind of just touch on like how you kind of walked to the path that brought you to where you are now.
Yeah. So thank you for asking. I think it's all about sharing our past, not from a space of it's who we are, but it's what got us to where we are. So I grew up in a pretty intense home, mental, emotional, physical abuse, financial abuse. So my mom has mental disorder. So, at 1 minute, everything's fine. The next minute, she's throwing me out of the house in my bra
Mm.
and underwear in the snow and locking me out or kicking
Wow.
me out. Remember the first time I got kicked out was 4. Um,
Wow.
so it was not a safe environment, let's just
Mm.
say. My father was an addict, searching for love in all the wrong places. He ended up becoming sober 13 years before he died. But besides all that, my daddy was always like my hero, right? On my pedestal. I put him on a pedestal. So I was always looking for, validation and dancing and like, doing what I could do. And in high school, I became a cheerleader to put on the mask and pretend that
Mm.
everything was okay. We were on food stamps, we were on welfare, I had free lunch. And no one would know in high school because I worked at J.C. Penney's and I would spend my whole paycheck on my clothes and then I would return
Mm.
them.
Mm.
Clothes, return those. So I was working the system. So people
Mm.
didn't really know that we didn't have money because I just figured it out.
Mm.
Um, and I remember just literally being so upset and there was so much drama at home, like my mom was stealing my phones and grounding me and not letting me go to the library. And I'm 41, so we didn't have computers and stuff. Like you have to actually go to the library and open books to do your assignments. And so she would be grounding me and she would coming down to my high school and trying to kick me off the cheerleading squad every day and
Mm.
report me as a runaway. And then I'd be getting arrested at school for being a runaway. Like it was just chaos. So I got really comfortable with if I have to do things in order for shit to get done, I have to do it on my own. And
Mm.
so I've learned to not really have trust in anyone but myself and figure things out. And so getting out of high school, I ended up the day I graduated, I left and got involved in electronic music festivals, throwing raves, dating drug dealers. Like all my friends were selling ecstasy at the parties, and I'm carrying in ecstasy in my backpack for them. Like
Mm.
totally not at all on the path, right? But then I had this alter ego. I became an NFL cheerleader. So I'm like raving on the weekends and then like cheering on the football games on Sundays, right? So I had this like alter life. Like even though I would be hanging out with people who were owning their worth and like getting into trouble, I still was always like manifesting some pretty cool stuff for myself, working 5 jobs at a time. So I ended up making my way down to Seattle after almost being killed, or down to LA after almost being killed by my boyfriend, who
Mm.
was a drug addict, a drug dealer, and very depressed and
Mm.
you know just not happy. Um, I moved all over the country for a model management company, found my way in Los Angeles to explore my TV hosting dream. Ended up manifesting a job doing the CBS Sports, doing the sports alerts for the mobile devices at the television station, which turned into like doing red carpets And through that whole time, I had a food addiction, an exercise addiction. My grandma passed away, ended up losing 15 pounds, just thinking that my worth was, if I was a 00, had to be like the girls on TV. And I'd be, not eat a carb for 2 years. Like I was a psycho about like what I looked like because I didn't love myself. And no matter
Yeah.
how many sit-ups I did, I still never felt better. And remember how many people I interviewed. I ended up working for some high profile families, getting a spot on a show called Beverly Hills Nannies. It was a reality show with a bunch of Hollywood nannies, which was super toxic and dramatic.
Mm.
And through that experience, I realized I didn't want to be on TV anymore. I wanted to raise the consciousness of the planet. I didn't know how. I didn't know who would listen to me. I was just listening to Abraham Hicks and reading Louise Hay and pulling angel cards and really just starting to take a look around my life and going, I don't have anything common with these people. I don't want to go to the club. I don't want to go to the bar. Like I'm bored with life and there's got to be more. And I was, experiencing angels and just really getting into like the law of attraction and just like having the spiritual awakening. But yet I felt like I had one foot in and then one foot in this like low vibrational Hollywood scene. And it wasn't until coming off that show, I ended up finding a partner who I thought was the one. Come to find out he was a sex addict. He was having sex with strangers of like women that worked in the fast food lines at the freaking local fast food place. So I'm heartbroken. I get the biggest callback of my life, which is like an interview at E, which is a big entertainment network. Had 5 rounds of callbacks and I was so broken. I remember there just wasn't enough makeup or hair to make me feel good about myself. My heart was gone. And I walked off the set. I had an out-of-body experience and I was like, I want to help people, not talk badly about them, talking bad about celebrities. There's got to be more to this. Like, this is just bullshit. It doesn't fucking matter. I was like, if I talk about Justin Bieber and Miley Cyrus one more time, I'm going to lose it. Like, it doesn't matter. And I literally had an out-of-body experience and like the lights, I turned into deer in the headlights. They were calling my name, asking me for my line. And I just walked off. And my dream was dead. I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. This is all I've ever wanted since I was a little girl. My dad was dead. I never really faced off with my dad. Had passed away a year before, and I completely just like put it on a shelf and wouldn't feel. I just kept going on with life. And my dad was dead. My dream was dead, and my relationship was dead. I was like, I have nothing to live for, right? Like, who am I? I have no home. I have no love. I have no dream. And I was going to go home that night and take a bottle of NyQuil PM and know myself. And I ended up going on a hike with this woman who enrolled me into this emotional intelligence training that completely changed my life. And the reason I went to this 5-day training was because I didn't want to be a burden to one of my castmates that I was staying with while my Airbnb was getting ready. And I just think about like, what a lack of low self-worth. I didn't want to be in the way. So I was like, well, I'll take this so I won't be in her space. And that training changed my life. I learned to love myself. I got clear on my purpose and my vision, which is to be the cheerleader for others that I never had. And I became the life purpose cheerleader, who I retired that archetype January 1st, because even that felt very much from my wounding of creating this mask. I always have I always have to smile. I always have to inspire people. And I just wanted to be able to show up for being me. I just wanted to get paid for being me, not putting on a show. And so it's been really empowering. So for the past 4 years, I've been creating online programs and worldwide workshops and retreats and one-on-one coaching, and recently a mastermind where I'm supporting individuals that are here to make the planet a better place, that want to get paid for helping people, that want to be coaches or healers or light workers or medicine women or men, and those that have these dormant spiritual gifts and this desire to help humanity ascend, to support them in building a business. Because I built my business with zero marketing dollars, just me in live video, and through being vulnerable and honest and yelling on camera and crying on camera and sharing all of it, being very humble, I've been able to create going on a 7-figure business, which is just crazy to even think that. Because someone who grew up on food stamps, ended up having to go down to, the government to get assisted to have an abortion, like literally didn't even have money. Like, I just think about going to the dollar store for groceries, and I think about stressing out about how I was going to afford $1,000 in rent, and like, just can't even believe that I'm in the place I am now, and I'm helping other people learn how to live their best damn life too, and to love themselves. So it's been a really beautiful journey. And Yeah, I'm just honored to be here. So I hope that was some context.
Yeah, no, you know, it's amazing. I mean, some of the stuff that you're saying, I was like, because when you know, obviously, when you talk about people that they create this facade, I always say that people have three. You know, they have a trinity. Everybody has a personal trinity within them. The person that they think they are, the person people see them as, and then the real you. And most people are always portraying the first two, but never the third, because they don't spend enough time to find themselves. And most people are too busy. You know this. You know, so many people are too busy to find themselves. They find ways. They find numbing agents because they don't want to deal with the pain rather than actually face the truth of whatever life has sent them. And as we both know, it's the hero's journey and it's the soul contract that we've chosen, whether we like it or not. We've chosen that journey for a reason. And it's just about whether or not you understand and see it as the reason. So it's, you know,
Oh,
it's such a beautiful thing.
I'm so glad you brought that up because something that's been coming really alive and you just reminded me of that is that I was such the fucking victim. Like
Mm,
transparency, it was like, why did he cheat on me? Why is he this? Why did they fire me? Why can't I just get it figured out? Why am I
mm,
living paycheck to paycheck? Why am I always broke? Like there was no context of responsibility. It
mm,
was my mom, it was
mm,
my
mm.
dad, it was my upbringing, it was society, it was every other reason except for myself.
Yeah.
And I just realized, like, remember being like, why is he doing this to
Mm,
me? Like, really, seriously, such a fucking victim.
mm,
I realized that, like, when you don't have people around you showing you what responsibility is,
mm.
of course your default system is going to be victim. My mom was
Yep.
such a victim. It was
Mm,
never her fault. It was always ours. She
mm,
was a narcissistic. So there was
mm,
no room for my emotions because she was always in breakdown.
mm.
It was like drama to the T. So I mirrored that behavior.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mirrored
yeah.
being broke. If I had a
Mm,
dollar for every time she said the words, we couldn't afford it. Right?
mm.
And like if I had a dollar for every, that's too expensive. I couldn't even order soda at when go out to eat, like kind of stuff, you
Mm.
know? And it's just like that was imprinted into my
Yeah,
brain,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know? And
yeah.
it was like seeing a man struggles, my mom and dad fighting and violence and cops being called and all the things I saw, like I just thought that was normal. Like
Mm,
and not on a conscious level, but on a subconscious level, that
mm.
I would be
Yeah,
doing these looping of these relationships and staying with these guys 3 5 years long, and it's so toxic.
yeah, yeah.
But I just didn't love myself enough to see that there was something else available, and I didn't have any role models to show me
Mm,
what a healthy relationship looked
yeah,
like. It was
yeah,
monkey do.
yeah.
And that's why I have so much compassion for light workers and healers, because we have been programmed that, like, oh, if we're woo woo, we're spiritual, for healers, we should do it for free.
Yeah.
Like we should be helping, like this humble martyr slave
Mm, mm,
mentality. And I think it comes from so many lifetimes of being burned at the stake and
mm,
being witches and wizards and druids, and and being killed literally for
mm,
our gifts, that like we almost have this like underlying dormant DNA of shame,
mm,
that's like, oh well, we're weird, or we're out there, or that we're not accepted, so we might as well just like give away all of our magic for free.
mm,
And that's something that I'm committed to being a big part of the global rewrite on, of the human
mm,
experience, because
mm.
healers and those committed to making this world a better place should be paid abundantly more than someone throwing a ball in a hoop. Bless you, Kobe
Yeah,
Bryant.
yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
let's get real here.
Mm,
Like,
mm. Yeah, I mean, I love what you said because you know, I think about, you know, the conditions kind of go back to what you were saying before about, you know, those first few years of your life and modeling. And, you know, we understand that in the first 7 years of your life, the ego has no filtration pathway. So the child accepts everything as truth, and you imprint, as you were saying, at a cellular level, you imprint this information as truth. Like your truth is, well, we are broke. So I accept we are broke at a cellular level. And then most people don't deal with that as children. They bring that past into the present, and the present becomes the future. And then they fulfill that role. Even like I know people that are billionaires and they still work 60, 70 hours a week, still thinking that the poverty mindset of their parents. And they haven't learned to heal that inner part of themselves. So it's like what you said, it's so fascinating that people, you were going to say something yesterday.
I was just saying that that abundance, we talk about this a lot. It's like
Mm.
that scarcity loop, no matter how much money you make, it's still a mindset, right? And I noticed it the other day. I'm going to show you, I have a Yoda doll, okay?
Yeah, I saw
And
it, your baby Yoda.
Target,
Yeah.
and I was shopping for my little niece's birthday, And I was like, oh, I'm in the toy section. It's been forever since I bought toys. And I'm over here and I see this Yoda. For those of you that are watching on the video, or those of you that I have this beautiful little Yoda, and I saw it and I picked it up and I was like, $30. I was like, that's ridiculous, right? I set it down. Now, mind you guys, I've just had a $400,000 month, okay, which is more money than I've ever made my whole life, okay? Thank you, God, Spirit, the divine. But just notice the reason I'm giving you the context is not to brag, but to tell you like it's real. So I was like $30. And in my head, my little girl says, makes me want to cry, like, I'm not worth that. It's too much. It's too expensive, right? So I put the Yoda doll back. Meanwhile, I have a cart full of things for Alea, from a birthday dress to light up shoes to like all the things, a unicorn, everything. But yet I didn't want to spend $30 on myself, right? So I put the Yoda back. And then I walk around the corner. I was like, no, I want that Yoda. So I go back. I put the Yoda back in the cart, right? And I'm just like, it's so irresponsible. You shouldn't be buying this. It's a toy. Or a grown ass woman. Like what? Like all this. I get to the checkout. I take the fucking Yoda out of the cart again. I put the fucking Yoda on the side. I'm like, no, I'm not gonna get it. That's just. By the end of the time, I'm staring at the Yoda and I'm like, I'm just gonna get the Yoda. But the Yoda is a perfect example of the mindset and the programming of I'm not worth $30. And at some point, $30 was a lot of money, right? And there's no way I would have gotten a present like that when I was little. And I can afford it. But my brain tells me I can't. My wounds tell me I'm not worthy of it. My wounds tell me it's too expensive. But this has brought me so much joy. Like every time I come in my office, I smile. Like it's worth all of that and more. Because I deserve a toy, and that's it.
Right? It's a symbol, isn't it? That's like a symbol. I remember I watched. I've been doing martial arts my whole life, and so I'm massively into UFC stuff. And I remember maybe about 15 years ago, I was watching one of my favorite fighters, and he was just talking about when he won the belt. He said the belt is a symbol of all of what I've done for the last 15 years to get here. So he goes, when I have that belt on my my table, that represents 15 years of work. And that's what that is. It's pretty much like a symbol. It represents you, as you said, healing from that wound and not validating yourself enough by spending on yourself or anything that you feel that you desire.
Yeah, whether it's 3,000 or 300, you know what I mean? $300. It's like, it's so deep, guys. And I did it with crackers the other day. I won't go down that thing, but it was the same. Like $8 crackers. And I was like, you gotta be I don't care how much money I'm making. I spent $8 on crackers, right? And I took the crackers in. They're gluten-free and this, that, and baked and all things. And I was like, oh, what are they made with gold? Like, are they like handmade, like by little elves that are like going to make me? But it's just so interesting. It's real. This programming. So if we're doing this with Baby Yoda and crackers, think about what we're doing it with everything in our life of what we feel worthy of, right? And the story we're making up about what we deserve or what we're worthy of or what's irresponsible. And it's just the subconscious brain is just constantly trying to keep you safe. And I'm air quoting keeping you safe. And I think that's why when people say, well, it's just easier to mask it with the drugs and the alcohol, like not even knowing why I loved alcohol so much, not really even knowing why I loved ecstasy so much, right? Like that I was avoiding all the pain and the love I didn't feel. Like I wanted that serotonin, that frequency that everything felt fine with the lights and the music and the bass and everyone hugging each other. And, just having this community of people that like, doesn't matter who you are, you're loved and you're worthy and everyone's going to just like dance with you. And it was just like, I'm home, like everyone belongs. And it's just interesting that we do these things unconsciously to protect ourselves from feeling the pain, and no one's like, oh, I'm taking some whiskey to numb the pain right now. Like no one really consciously thinks that. They're just like, I want to drink.
Yeah. And there's a beautiful quote that kind of encapsulates this when it comes to the path that we've chosen, whether it's a great path or if it's a hard path. And the quote is, the level of hardship you've come to face in life is the level of mastery you've come to attain. You've come here to attain.
Wow. Who's that quote from?
You heard it from one of my teachers, Joe.
Yeah, send it to me when you can remember. I think
yeah. And I always say that to people, like, no, this mastery the pain, like the more, you know, when you think about people like Tony Robbins and people like everyone like yourself, everyone that's doing something great has created it out of travesty, pain. Like the greatest soul singers in the world have all, like they always say, their best albums where they broke up from someone. So it's like that pain, they've molded it in something great. So, you know, as we're both saying, it's like, look at your pain and look at the choices and the reasons why you have it, the lessons that you're supposed to learn and aspire to grow towards that.
Yeah, your pain becomes your purpose, it becomes your
Yeah,
power. And I teach my students a lot about your mess being your message. And oftentimes the things that we're so scared to share with
yeah,
people publicly online or with our clients or the world
mm,
are the things that not only will set us free
yeah,
when we own that those are a part of our path, but not who we are, but got us to the person we are. But it
mm,
also allows other people to see us as human to human. It allows us to relate. It allows us to have compassion. And
mm,
Matt Kahn, and I quote this almost every podcast I've ever on, Matt Kahn speaks about victims or light workers in training, and light workers are earth angels in the physical form. And I feel like for so long I was a light worker in training. I was
mm,
such a victim
yeah,
to
yeah,
everything. Why did he do this in my family and this and that? And as soon as I was like, all right, let's do the work to like free myself and to face off with that pain once and for all, it was like a whole world opened up, and I no longer had to prove my worth to my mother or worry about. I used to call back, and my mom's never read my book. She's never donated one penny to my trips in Africa to build clean water wells. She's never listened to nothing, like no support whatsoever.
mm,
Like they think I'm some crazy person. And I stopped trying to seek that validation, that acknowledgement, that atta girl or good job or I'm proud of you. You know, I stopped needing to try and get that from her and
mm,
just get it from myself, get it from
mm,
God, get it from my results, get it from my soul family, my clients, my students.
mm,
And I think that we often run these loops um, because we don't know any better and we don't know that it's possible. So I think that's a
mm,
part of the spiritual awakening process
yeah,
is the awareness, and the awareness that why am I doing this and how much longer do I want to keep feeling this way? And if you keep pointing around the world, like you got to look at yourself. And I was just such a
mm,
victim.
yeah,
I
yeah.
could not believe it. Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And even when you look at the word responsibility, it's the ability to respond to life. But most people don't want to do that because they want something or someone to blame, so they can justify why they're stuck.
because it's so scary to feel.
Mm,
Like it's scary to feel. Like people are like, why do I want to talk about what happened to me when I'm 5?
mm,
I'm like, why? Because it's energetically on everything you do.
yeah,
Every person you speak to, every relationship you're in, to the amount of money in your bank account, to how people see you and view you,
mm,
and how you show up in the world, to the guy in traffic, to the guy at the bank. It has everything to do with that moment in time that you captured, that you made up a story about yourself, you made up a story about the world, and you've been running your looping in
mm,
your programming based upon said experience. And
mm,
that's what we don't realize is these imprints, these painful moments, whether it's the kid in school that laughed at you,
mm,
or the 5, you gave a rose to a girl at school and she
yeah,
disrespected you and like made you wrong, to being embarrassed for getting caught like playing with your genitals with your
mm,
family, or
mm,
by your family. Like
mm,
these moments in time, all of a sudden you make up a story of protection. Oh, I'm never going to let anybody see me that way
yeah, yeah,
again.
yeah,
I'm never going to be vulnerable because it feels this way. I'm never going to raise my hand in school because the teacher called me an idiot, right? I'm never going to go outside and play because the bullies beat me up. Like
mm,
whatever it is, we
mm,
create this
yeah,
self-defense mechanism.
mm,
And
mm,
then our whole life we're viewing the world from X, a 1 + 1 = 2.
mm,
And therefore there's a lion behind that rock and I will never walk down that block again because that lion's going to get me. And
mm,
that's not true.
mm,
But yet we create a whole world based upon said experience.
yeah,
And that's why emotional intelligence is such imperative training and doing
mm,
somatic work, because I have literally seen students and clients look 10 to 20 years younger
mm,
after facing off what happened to them, from their
yeah,
sexual trauma to their physical abuse to whatever
mm,
happened,
mm,
them owning it, feeling it, speaking about it, sharing
yeah,
it, and then they're fucking off it. And next thing you know, they draw in their love life, the
yeah,
love of their life. Next thing you know, they make a bunch of money in their business. Next thing you know, they're walking with an additional pep in their step. They're radiating this frequency
mm,
out into the world that has to match it. And I can look at someone and
mm,
say, I can literally be like, yep, mom or dad,
mm,
the way
mm,
someone talks,
mm,
the the frequency of their voice,
Mm.
right? Their ability to look you in the eyes or not. I could
Mm.
never look people in the eyes for the
Yeah,
longest time.
yeah.
I was like, wow, my eye contact is shit.
Yeah.
And I didn't see it, and I can see it in other people now.
Mm, mm,
Right. But I
yeah.
could never look at people in the eyes. I was like, wow, I am so scared of being seen because I'm so
Mm,
scared of being judged. And I was a cheerleader, for God's sakes. I was on stage saying,
mm,
look at me, look at me. I was on camera on TV saying, look at me, prove my worth. But when it came to looking someone in the eye, forget it.
mm,
It was
yeah.
so uncomfortable. I wanted to run.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, so you bring up so many, important points, and I hope people listen back to this as well, because, so when I look at a lot of adults today, it's like, for me, I don't know for you, but for me, it's almost like 90, I'll retract it, it's almost like I don't know anyone who hasn't gone through some form of childhood pain. I can't think of one person who says, my childhood was amazing. Pretty much everyone I know has gone through some form of trauma, and they bring it into the present. So it's like you said, they haven't healed. And for me, it's like, as far from my point of view, I don't think counseling is very good, because all you're doing is
No, me either.
you're speaking about the story, and you're giving it power. The more you speak about it, it's like, yeah, it's a loop. It's like, oh, this thing happened to me. And you take yourself back to that point, but you haven't healed it. You're just bringing it up again. It becomes more powerful because you're bringing the past into the present. So, like what you were saying about somatic work, really feeling the body, and like you said, about experience and feel, which is so powerful, because whenever we see something, it's like, I always say to people, there's a part of the brain called the HPA axis, which relates to how we see any form of trauma. So first of all, we see it, then we react to it, and then thirdly, we internalize it. And it's the internalizing that creates pain, and then it affects us at a cellular level, but that cellular memory affects us at a chakra level, So it's like those chakras then start to crystallize and formalize that pain. Because you haven't dealt with it, you grow up, that chakra still hasn't healed. So a part of your psyche is still 5 years old, and it hasn't moved on. And like you said, you identify with something like, if you got bullied by someone who wore grey, every time you see a grey car or a woman wearing grey, whatever, you would connect the story back to that color, and you haven't healed, and you bring it into the present. So it's so important, like you said, to go through that.
It's real. It's so real. And we can look at that when something on a basic level is like, what is our relationship with money?
Yeah.
What did our parents think about money? What did our
Yeah.
parents think about money?
Mm.
Like, what did we believe about money?
Mm.
And like, it's just, we are just little products of our environment.
Yeah.
We're little sponges, little computers that are getting programmed by every person, everything people say about us, what's acceptable, what's not. I know that from being a Catholic when I was little.
Yeah.
You got to do this, you got to do that, you're going to go to hell, all the things. But then it completely just like skewed my world, and being like, wait, what? And at some point you start to question, like, it doesn't really feel good for me anymore, right? Or why am I believing this? We've just become these like little sponges that believe everything we're told. And it's time to rewrite, like do an update on our phones, our computers.
I saw that one. That one that you did.
Update,
Yeah,
dude.
I love
Update that shit.
Yeah.
We wouldn't be running a program for our iPhone 5. It'd be slow, it'd be glitchy, it'd be causing drama and problems and annoyance. We upgrade our phones. Why aren't we upgrading our belief systems back behind, beyond past what our mother said or our great grandmother said that told my mom? I'm going to share a story with you that's like really cool. So there's this story about this girl who is at Thanksgiving dinner, and she sees this turkey at her friend's house, and she's like, why is the front and the back of the turkey cut off? And the girl goes, well, I don't know, that's just how my mom does it. So they ask the mom, why do you cut the front back off of the turkey? She's like, I don't know, that's always what your grandma did. So they call the grandma, they're like, grandma, why did you do that? She's like, well, that's what my grandma used to do. And she's like, okay. So they call the grandma, why did you do that? She's like, well, my grandma did that because her oven was so small. So you're telling me 3 generations of women never asked why we cut the front back of the turkey when they're making dinner? They just, well, that's what grandma does. So that's what we do. That's what we do. That's what we do. Now here we are in 2000 and whatever. We don't have small ovens. We can have the whole turkey in there, but they're doing it because that's what they were taught, and they're not asking any questions. They're just creatures of habit. So if it can happen with a turkey, guys, it's happening everywhere in our lives.
Yeah, the way you do, as another saying that I love, which encapsulates this as well, is the way you do anything is the way you do everything.
Right.
All right, so we could talk forever about that. Hopefully, there's enough insight there for people to kind of grasp what we're talking about with conditioned beliefs, biases, and how that's programming us into the past and bringing it into the present. So I love those, and I love that analogy you gave of the iPhone 5. I watched that Instagram video you did about that. That was so cool. Such a really good example of upgrading your software.
Yeah. We got to start questioning everything. Well, is this working? If it's not, let's have a computer guy come in and recode it.
Yeah.
Like let's recode our brains.
Yeah.
We're the most smartest computer ever,
Greatest computer in the world. So I'm gonna kind of just change gears a little bit and just talk about I mean, this is kind of a deep subject, but just talk about the because you touched on it a little bit about the scarcity mindset. Like, what is it that? Because obviously, you're like I said, you off camera. I'm inspired by watching you because I can see in you that you're creating this abundance, and we've touched on a little bit about the scarcity mindset. For you, like, what is the? I mean, obviously, we spoke about it goes back to the parental programming and stuff. What is it that stops people from kind of getting past that scarcity mindset?
The belief that what they have is all they'll ever have, right? So there's a couple layers to this. The first one is that with the savings account, right? So you guys have to understand, all of us, right? I don't know what age you are, but I'm 40. So my mom was a baby boomer, right? She grew up in the 50s. And then her mother experienced war, right? My mom experienced like Vietnam, right? But like my grandmother experienced World War. And during the World War, there was so much death. There was so much violence. There was famine. There was bombs. It was not, Europe was crazy. America was crazy. Germany, like it was just crazy. Our wars were very intense. And what that created was a climate where there wasn't enough food. Okay. We haven't experienced that in our lifetime. And I pray that we won't, but I kind of think we will. And it's all good. And we're always taken care of. And it's a part of the divine plan. And there was famine. Right. And I think that's something that most every culture can relate to. At some point, their grandmothers or great grandmothers experienced famine and experienced war. Now, what that creates is a deep level of survival, right? Like I have to make money to create food. And there was a scarcity of jobs, especially when people came to America. And I'm talking about American history. There was so many people trying to come for a better life in the land of the free and all the things. There was not a lot of jobs. Right. And then add the war to it. And then there was really not a lot of jobs. And then there's a lot of like dads dying, the men of the family dying. So the women had to like figure it out. So much scarcity of love, scarcity of safety, scarcity of food. So definitely scarcity of money. So that imprinted our great grandparents. Okay. And that imprint of scarcity has been passed down through our DNA because every single one of us were in our grandmother's womb. Speaking for women, our eggs were in there. Like our grandmother actually had the egg that I became in her womb, right? So all of that energy, all that imprinting is in all of our strands of our DNA, right? We look like our grandparents. We're definitely going to take on the personalities, the belief systems of our grandparents as well until we work against it. What I think we're going through is not only are we having to do a rewire of our DNA and our belief systems that were passed down through our genes, right? Because they grew up in a very scary time where there wasn't enough food to go around. There wasn't enough money. There wasn't enough time to be like, what do you want for your dreams, right? It was like, get a job, hold it till the day you die because there's not a lot of jobs out there, right? And so there was already this scarcity that your happiness didn't matter. It was like, you got to make enough food for your whole family to eat, right? So there's that. Now, our grandparents, great grandparents and grandparents programmed our parents. Our parents are just going off the looping and the belief systems and the imprints of their parents. Go to college, get a good job, get a picket fence, find a good man or woman, get married, have kids, stay at that job till the end and get a pension and 401k. That's the safe thing to do. That was the safe thing to do in the 50s. and the
Yeah.
60s and the 70s, okay? Maybe 80s. Not really in 2020, all right? They didn't have computers. They didn't have technology. They didn't have Wi-Fi. They didn't have all these people who go to college and never use their degrees. Like that was unheard of back then. It was like, oh, you go to school for an engineer, you're going to be an engineer and you're going to be there till you retire, right? And now it's like there's so much more possibility, there's so much more opportunity, but yet we're still believing these
Mm.
belief systems of our grandmothers, our great grandmothers, and our parents, right? So nowadays, you don't have to go to college to get a job. Back then, that was unheard of. They wouldn't even let my mom be a flight attendant if she didn't go to college, right? So there was like, it was very specific. The world has changed, the times have changed. So the belief systems have changed. The scarcity belief system, guys, we're fighting with our ancestral DNA. We're also fighting from the climate of our parents' parents and our parents. And now we're in the system where we're like, wait a second, but mommy told me you got to look both ways when you cross the street. But now I'm seeing other people online creating something different. Now I have data that that's actually possible.
Yeah.
If you've grown like me, I didn't grow up in a family of entrepreneurs. Like I never in a million years thought that I could write my own business. I didn't go to college. I probably shouldn't have graduated. I'm not very good at spelling. Like there's just a lot of things that I didn't have evidence that that was possible for me. I saw a mom and a dad hustling, working their asses off at jobs they hated and barely getting by. So I just like, well, that's what you do. Until I started making friends with people who were making millions of dollars a year, who had online businesses, who had huge lives that would travel all the time. They started to inspire me to want more, to create more. And so the thing with the abundance mindset is what I find is people are like, I don't want to invest in that program, or I don't want to hire that coach. I can't afford it. If you say that, you're never going to be able to afford it. So at some point, you're going to have to do something different to get the different result. If you're broke right now, based upon your current model of making money, unless you introduce a new way of making money, you're going to keep not making money. Okay. Like it's very obvious, but for some people, like, well, I have $4,000 in my bank account. If I give it to you, which is so odd, it's like, no, you're investing in yourself to tools to have a better life. Let's get clear. Just like you go to college, name me, put a room of 10 college graduates and I'll give you one that actually paid it in full because their parents were rich. Most everybody else is on government assistance, loans, or, you know, robbing what they need to do to make ends meet. But parents have no freaking problem marching their 17-year-old kid down to the bank to take out a $200,000 loan for college. But yet people freak out about a few $1,000s to invest in a program that's going to help them love themselves, rewire what's possible, surround themselves by people who are creating more and want more so they can create the life they want. And that's what's so messed up with our society. And that's that programming. It's acceptable to go spend 100 grand on college for a piece of paper to tell you you're worthy, but it's not acceptable to go figure out why your life is the way it is and how you. And so the scarcity model is intense. And I tell people often the fastest way to get out of scarcity is to invest more money than you've ever invested before. Open a credit card, open a 0% interest credit card, take out a loan, go ask for $400 from like 10 people, like do whatever it takes, like your life depends on it, because it does. The people that keep making the excuse, I can't afford it, will be the people who are broke in their 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s guaranteed. Because they're living this hope, wish, want, dream that their life's going to change based upon the programming they've had up until now. The programming they've had up until now is a direct result of their current life. The house they live in, the friends they're with, the money in their bank account, the people they're surrounded by is all based upon their belief systems and their programming and what they've learned. If you want to learn how to get a good life with great people, making a difference, making an impact, and making more money, you're going to need to get around the people that actually have had that. You're going to get trained by the people that want to see you win, that have had results. And I think what happens is we get so much advice from parents that don't have what we want. Why do we keep asking permission or directions from people that have never gone where we're going? You know, like I've like, oh, I must ask my husband if I should invest in this program and he thinks it's irresponsible. Tell me about your husband's life. Oh, he works at a shitty job. He barely gets by. He's miserable. All he does is sit on the couch and watch TV on the weekends and fucking watch porn. Oh, cool. So you're going to take advice from your husband? Like, bless him. But like, it's up to you to be like, I want a different life. What's the roadmap? Because based on results, I don't have the roadmap. I think there's a point where we've got to be humble enough to be like, yo, my life's not working. And I remember this conversation with my ex-boyfriend. I was like, I'm gonna hire this coach for 5K. And he's like, are you insane? You don't even have a job. I was like, I know. He's like, I was like, but I need help. Like, I can't keep living like this. I'm sick of having no money. I'm sick of the same shit. I'm sick. I'm spinning my wheels. Like, I'm sick of being broke. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. And I wasn't doing anything wrong, guys. I just didn't love myself. I just didn't own my worth. I didn't have any education and tools around how to create a better life for myself because I was running my old operating system. And I was a good employee and I was a fun girl and I had great friends and celebrity friends and rich friends, all the things. But I wasn't owning my worth. And I think that I would spend, I don't think, I know, I would sell everything in my home. I would sell everything I owned, spend my very last dollar in making sure I got out of the life that I currently had. I went all in on the all in, as my boyfriend Jerry says. I went all in on the all in. I opened a 0% credit card. I lied about how much money I made. I lied about what was in my savings. I lied about having a job. I lied about how long I was at that house I was in. Thank you, American Express, bless. And I got an $8,000 credit card. And that's the only reason why I'm talking to you right now, Warren, is because I was like, I need help. I also took a 5K loan out from my boy, who's a poker player, Nick Schulman, bless you, who gifted me 5K. And then I went to pay him back. He's like, no, Valdez, the fact that you even want to pay me back, you keep it. And I got $5,000 for him to be in an abundance circle that taught me about leadership, taught me about like a rotating economy, and helped me break through my wounds of trusting women and leadership and abundance. And so I invite you to spend more money than you can, air quote, afford, more money than you think it's possible. I'm not telling you to go buy a Birkin bag or some Chanel and Prada shoes. I'm saying spend every last dollar getting out of the shitty job you have, out of the shitty relationship, out of the shitty life, because you're never going to get out of it without support. And it's that broken looping of insanity that's doing the same thing, expecting a different result, which I did up until year 36 of my life, guys, or 35. Going to the same job, hanging out with the same friends, hope wishing and wanting, binge watching YouTubes, binge watching, pulling angel cards till the cows come home. And nothing was changing until I said, I need tools. I need training. I need to heal my past. I need to forgive my family. I need to like figure out why I've made all these choices. And it was like light bulb after light bulb went off. And so scarcity mindset comes from all those places. And it comes from the way you can break it is by doing whatever it takes to get the tools to get out of it. And you will. And oftentimes, I mean, my students right now have opened up SBE loans. They've cashed out their 401k retirement plans. They have wiped out their savings. They've borrowed money from family. 2 of my students have moved home with their parents so they can take this mastermind because they're like, there's nothing more important than me serving this planet. And I'm going to do whatever it takes, including living with my mom. And one of the single moms I'm coaching in the UK, including making soup for me and my son, like whatever it takes so I can create a better life for him. This is my priority. Like, and not spending money on all the things, you know, and I know a lot of people are like, oh, I'm scared, I'm broke. Yeah, you probably go to Starbucks a lot and you probably spend a lot of money on bullshit. And, you know, like cut your cable, read books, you know, fast, you know, go on, like do what you need to do. But like, that's what it takes. And as soon as my students do that, as soon as I did that, money comes, opportunities come. People are like, I can't believe I just got a $2,000 check in the mail. My car insurance says I've been overpaying for 2 years. And I'm like, because as soon as you make that up level, as soon as you make that ceiling, your floor be your new ceiling, and you bust through that, like that's when you start to raise your consciousness into abundant mindset. And you no longer identify with being broke. You no longer identify with that's a lot of money. So I remember 5K was a lot of money for me at one point. I remember paying 10K for a week-long mastermind. I was like shaking when I sent the money. Then I just invested 30K into a mastermind. I was like, I know it's going to come back to me because I know the law of attraction. What you put out comes back to you multiplied. Not only did it come back to me, I mean, 100, 400 times it's come back to me in less than 2 months. And so it's possible for all of us, but we have to play the game of abundance, the frequency. We have to, Spirit says you're infinitely abundant. You just got programmed and hypnotized your childhood up until now that you got to work hard for your money. Because that's a fucking lie. And I heard that over and over in my house, right? You got to get a good job with benefits. You got to go to college to get a degree. You got to do, no, you don't. Says who? Who are these people saying these things, right? So we have to rewire. We have to surround ourselves by people that have what it is that we say we want. We have to invest more money than we can afford, and we need to sacrifice. We need to stop being a slave. And so many of us are a slave to our jobs. We are a slave to our relationships, and we're not consciously choosing them. They're choosing us. And that's the matrix mind construct that has had the human race hypnotized for centuries up until now, since the veil is lifted. I'm not going to get too woo out there with the star beings, but there was a contract and agreement with the human race, and it just expired. And that's why the human race is waking up and going, wait a second, why am I going to this job? I hate this job, right? I have an option. I can quit. Yeah, you've always been able to quit, but you've been in a trance. And the same thing with money mindset. My ex-boyfriend was like, this is irresponsible. And I was like, I'm doing it anyway. Same thing when I was like, I'm going to Africa. It's like, your business is blowing up. That's so irresponsible. You're going to be off grid for 3 weeks. And I was like, I'm going. Spirit's telling me I'm going to go bring water to these kids. That's it. And it was not only the most magical time of my life, but I could have made the excuse that I didn't have the time, which is also that I didn't have the time and put my business and myself first and not like what Spirit was calling me to do. Plus I was dreaming about the children 3 days in a row. And so I was like, oh yeah, I'm being called back to Africa. And my boyfriend was like, you're so irresponsible. That's just so dumb. You haven't raised any money. How are you going to do this? And I was like, I'm supposed to leave for Africa in like less than 2 weeks. I haven't raised one penny. Like, how am I going to create all this money for my ticket, last minute, for the well, like all the things? And literally I made one phone call. My street artist friend, Retna, bless him, literally sent me $5,000 for my whole, like it paid for my fellowship fee. It paid for my flight and my food. And I was like, wow, like that in a blink of an eye when I just chose and I asked for support. And so that's possible for all of us, guys. We just have to start practicing abundance mindset instead of practicing scarcity, right? How about not saying I can't afford it? And how about saying, how can I create it? If my life depended on it, I'll tell every single one of you right now, if your life or your kids' life depended on you creating X amount of money for the program, tell me right now you wouldn't create it. You would do everything. You'd do everything for your kid. But would you do that for yourself? I know I could put all these parents in a room and I guarantee they would be like, I give my left arm. I give my shoes. I give everything. I'd give my bed. I'd sleep on the floor for 2 years to save my kid's life. They would do anything. Are you willing to go that far to fight for your dream? That's what's required for most of us. That's what's required for us light workers, to go all in. And then Spirit goes, well, they want it and they're ready. And now I'll bring them the abundance that they say that they desire. But this is an initiation and this is a test. And it's about being like, I don't know what the future holds. I don't have a clue. But I'm going to trust the voices of my soul. I'm going to trust God. I'm going to trust Goddess. I'm going to trust that I'm here for a bigger reason than just to flip flapjacks at freaking wherever. Like, I actually came here for a reason. I need to start going towards that and trusting that the same God that creates miracles every day is the same God that's going to take care of you if you're doing God's work. And so that's why I'm so passionate about this stuff, guys, because it's like your first initiation is to invest in yourself. Your first initiation is to learn that you're worthy, because God's not going to give you all that money when you don't think you're worthy. What do you think is going to happen to you? The same thing happens to the people that freaking win the lottery.
Win the lottery, yeah, man.
They don't feel they're worthy of it.
Yeah.
So they're not the container to hold it. You know, we all want this dream life, but nobody's willing to work for it. You know, and that purpose is your medicine, that mission, that journey, that pain. And it's learning to convert that pain and then paying it forward. And as soon as you can learn to pay everything that you've gone through forward, that's when you become blessed, because you're helping humanity through that in which you've already gone through.
Wow. There was so much in there. I was like, as you were talking, I was like, right, I want to talk about that. I can't remember. So I should have took some notes.
Sorry, I
what questions are. I know you're in flow.
I just come in and I'm like, yo, guys, slow down. Like, I'm all over the place, but trusting everyone's listening.
Yeah, you're in flow, you're in flow. I love one of the things that you said. I mean, everything you said was cool. I love what you said just about this whole example of getting advice from people that haven't even done it, such as when you're talking about, your boyfriend or your ex-boyfriend. Oh, how can you do that? It's like it's such a good point. It's like when we look at our parents and stuff, they've got a poverty mindset, but yet we're asking them for advice. I was like, man, it's such a good point. It's true, you're asking me for advice that haven't done it. How can you? It's how experience is the teacher, and it kind of brings to my next question, which is the kind of like we now worship intellectualism more so than we worship experience. And one of my coaches, he said that we deify people that have PhDs, but when you look at PhD and you give it its proper acronym now, it's piled higher and deeper. It's full of information. They're full of information, book sense, but no, as they say, common sense. And it's so important, like what you said. Experience is the teacher. One thing that you had an example on one of your podcasts, not one of your Instagrams. I can't remember the example, but I had a similar. I think your example was about dancing or something like that. I had a similar example coming from a martial art background. I always say, like, if you've read 1,000 books on martial arts, if you've never practiced, you're not a martial artist. And you said the same sort of thing. Yeah.
Right. Come on. Like, you can read a book on Taekwondo and Jiu-Jitsu, but get your ass in the ring and let's see what you're made of, right? And I love that you said experience is the true teacher, because so many people think they have to have this piece of paper. And I don't give a shit about your piece of paper. I want to know how many lives you changed. I want to know like what results you've created. Like, teach me what you know, not what you've read or what whatever. And that's the salsa. That's the salsa thing. Like, you can read a book on salsa, but until you actually start dancing salsa and get feedback from a coach, nope, go this way, go that way. Like, some of our greatest athletes of all time have like 17 coaches, and Rich says coaches have coaches not because they need them, because they want to go from good to great. And that really truly is the definition of like a human that's committed to, I love how you say mastery. It's like, I didn't grow up with like a perfect model of a relationship. Don't think that at some point during my relationship, I'm going to get to hire a relationship coach, right? Or like, whether it's a sex coach or it's like a death doula, like my friend Lua Arthur, she's a death doula. She helps families navigate as a member of their family is dying. Like, it's a lot. It is not easy.
And
you need a doula to come in and help you birth this child and bring it into the house, create the dynamic again, reframe what the house is going to look like so it doesn't cause breakdown in the relationship. Like, we've got to start looking to people that know, instead of wasting our time and energy trying to do it on our own. It's like, it's really a waste of time. And so I love that you are talking about the experience being the teacher, the truest teachers, because it's true. I don't want someone coaching me that's never gone through what I've gone through.
I just think about, if someone was going to go to Amazon and so they walk towards a shaman, would they say, which one of you shamans have a PhD? They'd laugh at them like, what's that? Who gives a shit? And I remember one of my friends, he said years ago, look, if you were dying in forest and someone said, I know CPR, you wouldn't stop them and say, hey, let me see your certificate. You just say, save me. All you care is, can they help?
Yeah, that's right.
So I kind of want to, I don't want to burn you out. So I've just got a couple more questions I kind of want to just touch on. And just FYI, the people that follow me and listen to my content, they would be classed as woo-woo or whatever. So you can go as esoteric and spiritual. I talk about UFOs, aliens, dimensions, all that crap. Not crap, all that stuff.
You told me that before, Warren.
Yeah, sorry.
Like fifth grade thing. It was cool, guys. Thank you for
5D, all that stuff. So it's all right. So okay. So I just want to kind of talk about. I'm really looking at this question because it's flowing. So tell me about the awakening. What's like, because obviously like Lionsgate, everything that's happening now. Just give me your thoughts on the power of 2020, the end of the Mayan calendar. Because you do hashtag Ascension so much, and what is Ascension for us? Why do we need it? And also to tie in that, why are there so many females stepping up and just rising up right now at this time?
Oh, great question. Okay, Ascension. The ascension is necessary for the human race to evolve. Okay. So as we were talking about that spell that was on the human race, the sheep, we were walking asleep and everyone's seen the Matrix.
And
Red
they
pill, blue,
live.
right?
And they live.
So everyone is, not everyone, most of the human race is unlocking dormant DNA. Okay. And those dormant DNA strands that are unlocking the human race are causing the massive ascension symptoms that are happening right now with all this light coming in the planet, from the fatigue to the headaches to the ringing in the ears to the lower back pain and the Kundalini awakening. The human race is getting a massive upgrade. And we have to recalibrate to this system. So there are like 13 dimensions or something crazy, or maybe even more. Earth is basically holding back the galaxy from ascending. Like all the other planets are like, let's go Earth, right? Like we are still in 3D. We're the only planet in 3D. We're like the little kid that's like, come on, put on your shoes, let's go, right? So we're holding back the entire universe. And so we as a human race have to let all those people that are not committed to the awakening, that are not committed to growing and evolving into this next heart-based consciousness, the fifth dimension. So the third dimensional construct is logic, reason, right? It's all the old teachers that are like philosophy and blah, 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 like the guru mentality, right? That's very third dimensional. We have to get to the fifth dimensional, which is the heart, which is the heart-based frequency, right? Where it's unconditional love and telepathy and all needs met and everyone just living in harmony. But we can't get from third dimension, our head, to our heart without passing through our throat. Okay, so like going into the divine feminine awakening, the fourth dimension is activating our voices, speaking our truth in our families, speaking our truth to the government. Look what's happening in the world. Standing up, the uprising, the Me Too movement. Like this has been a huge activation. Black Lives Matter. Like, no, do not leave our brothers and sisters behind. Like everybody actually using the power of the word, the power of the voice, which is spells, right? Every word, every sound creates our reality. So many of us have had our fourth dimensional frequency, our throats shut off because of trauma, systematic oppression from the government, from fitting in, from the UK, like prim and proper, be polite, you know? Same with Australia, don't be a fucking tall poppy, you know? Like America, let me just try to flash and pretend everything's okay when it's really not, and I'm miserable, right? So let me buy more shit. So the ascension is a part of us ascending into this newer consciousness, this love-based frequency. And there's a series of initiations happening on the planet right now. And COVID is a pandemic. It's fucking bullshit. It's man-made. It's engineered. I'm sure all you guys know that. It is literally the darkness, the dark force, whatever you want to call it. I like to use Star Wars references, the light and the dark, right? So the darkness is knowing that the planet is ascending. It knows, the darkness knows that the galactic beings of light, the light beings, Assyrians, the other beautiful star people that are helping Earth ascend and have been, the darkness knows that it has to suppress us because we're getting too close, right? Yeah. So that's why COVID's 6 feet apart. They don't want people touching. They don't want human connection. They don't want looking you in the eyes. They don't want this heart-based consciousness that's starting to happen organically. Now it's trying to separate us, right? COVID in quarantine has been a beautiful opportunity to go within, literally go inside your heart, right? And start to look at what's not working. Fuck, my marriage sucks. I'm with this guy 12 hours a day. I can't stand my husband. Divorce, go, right? I don't want to go back to that job that I hate. I've been a slave to. It's not $1 for every person that's like, yeah, I don't think if my job comes back, I'm going to go back. I'm like, thank God. But we had to be pattern interrupt. So the ascension is a series of pattern interrupts for the human race to wake up, to own their sovereignty, to own their voice, to how can I not get programmed by the news and the government, and when they start passing mandatory vaccines, like how can we uprise against this entity called the government that we've made our power, and how can the people take their voices back, take their sovereignty back, right? So all this stuff coming down the pipeline from the trauma that activated within all of us who have been Black in our last lives, who have been slaves in our past lives, who have been Native Americans and murdered and slaughtered, because you know we've all been all the things. So all of our dormant wounds from our dormant past lives trauma came up like, we got to go to war, right? So all of the woundings from our Black brothers and sisters this lifetime were up on the surface, right? And then all of us that were Black in past lifetimes, all of those wounds are back on the surface. And so now we're all like, rah, you know, we have to like let this fire out. We have to purge it. We have to be heard in order to ascend, because we can't get to rah 5D with anger, jealousy, hate, resentment, guilt, victim consciousness. We can't get to 5D from those frequencies. So how do we get through it? We feel it so we can heal it.
Yeah.
Feel it all. We got to activate our warrior, and then we got to come back to center, back to love. You know, we've got to like feel all of it so we can get to this next phase. And so the ascension is going to be a continuous amount of tests. There's going to be a lot of death. There's going to be a lot of war. There's going to be a lot of uprising. The fires are going to start again. There's going to be another wave, air quote, of this fucking COVID. There's word on the street that the president of the United States is going to get assassinated. Like, there's just a lot of stuff that's going to come down for people to freak the fuck out and realize that the government was never your dad anyway. The government was never your power anyway. You are a sovereign being. How do you want to live this life? How are you committing to the collective unity and oneness of this planet? How are you contributing to harmony or not? Are you going to be a sheep and get scared and go, yeah, give me the chip because I want to go to the grocery store and get food, and give me the chip so I can travel and go to Costa Rica whenever I want? Are you going to be a sheep, or are you going to say, nope, I'm going to go back to the ancient ways. I'm going to go back to community. I'm going to go back to living in tribe. I'm going to go back to living on the land. I'm going to go back to what our great grandparents, great ancestors knew how to do. Or the whole human race has gotten so far out of alignment. We're killing our freaking land. We're killing our people. We're poisoning our rivers, our waters. We are blowing it. We are literally destroying planet Earth. And so enough is enough. Enough is enough. And so Earth will have her vengeance, you know, and like every society has fallen from Atlantis to freaking beyond. We are getting too technology crazy, and we are missing getting in harmony with the land. The ancestors didn't work 365. They had a freaking winter. Give me one person you know that takes the winter off, that creates a winter for themselves. I created my first winter this year. It took 3 months off. It was so fucking hard.
Amazing.
Rebooted all my scarcity shit. You know, and we're starting to really realize what matters here, which is love, which is unity. And so that's the ascension. It's a process of a lot of light coming into our bodies to recalibrate, just like the going up in an airplane, your ears pop, you have to recalibrate to the new frequency. Just like when new data comes into your cell phone, you have to shut it down and recalibrate your phone for all that technology. That's what's happening to our little souls wrapped in these meat suits. We're like, what is happening? We're going up into these spaceships. We're going up into space, and our little nervous systems are freaking the fuck out, and it's okay. Right? But we have to be able to, we cannot intervene in a world we cannot see. And so much of us have been blind, and so much of us has been letting shit slide. And so much like, oh, fuck, pedophiles in Hollywood. Yeah, maybe. Blood sucking going on, all the sex trafficking, everything, not my problem, right? Not my kid, not my problem. And now it's like, yes, it is your problem. You're a human being of this earth. So what are you going to do about it? How are you going to face off with all the shadows that you don't want to look at within yourself? And as we face this within, it will be manifested without. And as the human race continues to be more truthful with themselves, we're going to see more truth revealed. And we're going to say, why are we letting these people in charge? They don't have our best interest at heart. The 1% is running the show. It's about time for the light workers to create the most amount of money so we can make the most fucking change and say, yeah, you know what? Sit down. You're out of your office. We're going to take control. We're going to be sovereign beings. We're going to create sustainable land where everyone's fed. We're not going to live in mansions and let our brothers and sisters sleep under bridges. No, we're done with that. No. And so some people say this is a 27-year sprint.
Wow.
That the new earth is not going to come for 27 years. I'm grateful I'll be able to see it this lifetime. But the next 10 years are going to be chaos, guys. A lot of death. And here's the deal. A lot of old people are going to be dying. Why? Because they don't want to ascend. They're not willing to choose into this new level of consciousness. They are taking up frequency in chi on this planet. And I'm not saying that to be disrespectful, but they got to go. They are holding this planet down by sitting
Mm.
in front of their television, stuffing their face with freaking food and being miserable. Their frequency is keeping the planet from ascending. We need everybody who is tapped in, tuned in, turned on. No offense. If you're not here for the ascension, get out.
Mm.
Please get off the planet, because all you're doing is holding us back. And so that's why a lot of people are dying right now, and they're going to continue to die. And there's going to be a lot of freaking suicides, guys, because people don't have tools. They don't have meditation. They don't have family. They don't have sadhana. They don't have breathwork practices. It is going to be a test. And those of you that are listening right now, you're light workers. Those of you that are listening are here to lead your families when they're in breakdown.
Mm.
Because we can know that we can survive without X, Y, and Z, but our family probably doesn't. They need the grocery store, and they need their news, and they need their house, and they need all these things. And it's about us releasing attachment to it all. Releasing attachment to money, releasing attachment to being able to go to the mall, releasing attachment to the internet. How can you just release the attachment to all these things that we don't really need, but we think we need? That's another wave of the ascension. So it's constantly surrender, allowing, being present, coming back to love, right? And it's going to be a wild ride. And there's going to be waves and there's going to be valleys, and it's going to go like this because, you know, COVID-1 was like all of us freaked out and lost our shit. And I think what's most important is that you stock up on a lot of dry goods, that you have at least 3 months, 3 to 4 months of dried goods in your house. I'm not saying that to scare you. I'm saying that when shit hits the fan, I'm not saying it's gonna happen tomorrow. I'm not saying it's gonna happen in a year or 2 years. I don't know. I'm not God, but you need to be able to take care of yourself and not have to go to the store or have to go and people tell you, like, you know, we've become so enabled by the system that we haven't learned to take care of ourselves. And so being a light worker is that, can I take care of myself and my family for at least 90 days? Go get a bunch of organic oats and olive oil, you know, so you've gotten salt, you know, and stock up on some water. And you can live on chicken broth, guys. You can live on stuff like that if you had to, right? And you just get to know that, like, it's not to scare you, it's to be prepared. It's that we've given all of our power away to everyone else, and it's time that we reclaim our power back.
Mm.
You know, I'm stocked up. You know, I've got the oats, I've got the beans, I've got whatever. And I'm like, worst case scenario, we living on oats and beans and olive oil and salt, and it's all good
Mm.
until we tribe up and figure out what we're going to do, you know? But like, don't be the person that has to become a sheep because you don't have options.
Yeah.
Right? Like, don't just be like, oh, well, that's thinking about the worst. No, prepare for the worst, intend for the best, and prepare for the worst. That's consciousness. Not the food will always be there. There'll always be enough toilet paper. Look how crazy my country went. Like, there'll always be enough, not from a hoarding space, but from a, like, let me be honest. And I think that so many of us, we can spiritually bypass a lot. And it's like, guys, yes, we're spiritual beings, but we're living in 3D. This is the third dimensional planet. Okay, we're going to jump in and out of consciousness. Yes. And we got to play by the 3D worlds. We're in the matrix, dude. You can jump in and out of it, but like, we still in the matrix. So we need to learn how to navigate through the matrix and then like skirt out and then like navigate back in, and just being like, well, then you don't have options, you know? So I know your brains are probably hurting because mine is, but the ascension is awesome. We're going back to what matters. All the layers are falling off. The bullshit is crumbling. The light workers always win. You know how Star Wars ends. We're gonna win. We always win, guys, but it's gonna be a rocky ass roller coaster. So your practices, your community, your prayer, your meditations, connecting with the land, getting your feet in the earth, drinking water, drinking high vibrational foods, surrounding yourself with people that get it, and not watching the news and buying the hype. And no matter what anybody says, me, Warren, whoever, check in with yourself, check in with your guides. That's your compass. Get so good that you can hear the whispers of your soul, your angels, and your guides. And you can discern when something feels off. You're like, I don't know about that. You know, become so clear with your antenna, like such a Jedi, that you can start to see when bullshit is what bullshit is. And there's a lot of bullshit. And don't get so caught up in all the conspiracy theory shit. I mean, look, it's conspiracy facts, most of it, but like do what part you can do and use it as data and information for you to kind of discern. But don't get so consumed that it's going to confuse you, because that's a big part of like psychic attack and psyops, is to get you so consumed with trying to figure out what's going on that you're so avoiding what's really going on right here.
Yeah, yeah.
We know how the story ends. We win, period. So let's just do our part to use our skills, our support, our guidance, our love, our gifts to actually help humanity during this really crazy time. Because it's really, really crazy.
Yeah. Oh, man. Man, I mean, a lot of the stuff you said, I'm like, wow, it's news to me. Interesting, man. Man, powerful stuff. I mean, there's so much there, man. Jeez, like you said before we came on, this is going to be a powerful episode. I'm kind of like,
and real quick, Warren, if people want to go down the Ascension rabbit hole, I have an Ascension masterclass that people can find, and I can send you the link to it. What is the Ascension? And it supports you with health hacks, food hacks, energy hacks, spiritual tools and practices, as well as discerning what is the Ascension, what is not the Ascension, what's happening to us on a physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and scientific level. It also breaks down the emotional ascension symptoms as well as the physical ascension symptoms. And it leaves everybody who watches it feeling like they're not alone, they're not crazy, and actually has them feel empowered about it. Because I remember when I first started ascending a few years ago, I was really scared. And nobody was ascending in my community at that point. I mean, I had the rashes, I had that like wouldn't go away for months. I had the ringing in the ears, I had the vertigo, like I had all these things, and I was thinking that I was like dying. And I find a lot of the light workers that reach out to me will go to the hospital and they're like, there's nothing wrong with you. And I'm like, yeah, there's nothing wrong with you. You're ascending. There's codes coming into your body. You're seeing the numbers all the time. You're getting activated. Like those are not angel numbers. Those are codes that are coming in through these numbers to remind you and to activate the dormant DNA within your body. So these spiritual gifts, this telepathy, this levels of intuition, this ability to connect to the angels or guides or whatever your energy work is, it's coding you. It's like dormant DNA that's firing. So the Ascension Masterclass is 2 hours. It's so supportive. I would like invite everybody to take it. It's like $22.22 US. It's a replay, but I mean, people were like, had 20 pages of notes. They were just.
Where can people find that?
You can go to my website, but I'm going to go on there on Instagram and try to click Ascension Masterclass and see what the link is. It might be bit.ly/Ascension class. But if they go to I am Amber Valdez on Instagram and they go into You're Not Crazy, You're Ascending Masterclass, I'll drop the link for you, Warren, so you can put it in your you can put it in the show notes. And if they go to my website, ambervaldez.com, there'll be a button that they can touch too.
Okay, so it'll be a permanent part of the masterclass, so if someone in a week, it'll still be there.
Yeah, it's a replay.
Okay, cool.
I've already done it live. I posted it live a couple months ago, and now we're running the replay for everyone, so people can feel empowered and not feel alone or crazy, because that's the biggest part. Is like, I'm going fucking crazy. But you're not. It's ascending.
That was so powerful. I kind of want to just finish off with, we touched on it already, but well, we haven't actually. How can people contact you? And tell us, actually, before we go, tell us about just briefly, just tell us about your mastermind, your 1-year mastermind, and then your Lightworker Academy.
Thank you. So the Lightworker Academy is a safe space from lightworkers from all over the world to feel seen, to feel heard, to have a community where they can talk about anything from the Illuminati to the aliens to the Ascension and not feel judged. It's for light workers who are new to their spiritual path or on their awakening journey or their ascension journey. Every month we have master classes from guest experts teaching everything from womb wisdom to animal medicine to voice activations. We have crystal of the month education as well as essential oil of the month. These two really powerful gifts from Mother Earth that you can use in your practice. We also have a card pull every month, and then we do a moon ritual every month together on our Facebook group. And then every month I also do a master class where I have a Zoom call that you can be coached by me on anything. And oftentimes we have guest experts coming in. So this month, September is going to be Sexy September. We're going to talk about somatic sexuality with Jillian Vaccaro. We're going to have this month the women who wrote Wild Power, which is a beautiful book, a Hay House book about utilizing how to awaken your divine feminine through your moon cycle and using it as a powerful, like when to create, when to rest, like really learning to work with your moon, which I wish I would have known my whole life. They're going to be in. We also have next month in Sexy September, we're having Saad Simone come in. He's got a book coming out, Spiritual Sassy. He's going to come in and talk about like owning your spiritual stilettos and owning your sexy and spirituality. And we're going to have this expert come in and teach anal alchemy and talk about like how you can use, you know, anal practices to like activate. So I'm excited to like get into that taboo-esque stuff. That's a stretch for me too. No pun intended. But so yeah, Lightworker Academy is only $33.33 a month. It's like a $1.11 a day. And it's an incredible community with heart-based lightworkers that don't want to feel alone and can talk about all these things and not be judged, and crazy's our new normal. So that's Lightworker Academy. It's a Facebook membership group. It's monthly. And every month we're going to have more and more guest experts. This whole month's like womb wisdom and all the things. And the mastermind is a one-year container for spiritual-based entrepreneurs that are building their business or about to build their business and want to be surrounded by light workers on the same path. And the difference between my mastermind versus other business masterminds is that we dance between spirituality and deepening our spiritual practice and connection to the divine and our spiritual gifts, as well as building our business, because it really does take that melding of the two, especially for light workers, because we don't want to build our business from this old, archaic, unhealthy, masculine goals and like this really aggressive way. We need to be in flow with the divine, and we need to be in flow with the ancestors, and we need to listen to our guides. Like we don't do anything because they say we have to. We do it because it feels good. So I've been able to build my business a very non-traditional way. And I'm committed to showing light workers they don't have to build their business with the funnels and the this and the that. They can just show up and be themselves and get clear on their messaging and anchor their vibration so those that need them can find them. So I'm really excited. We just kicked off. I'll be opening doors probably in like another month or so for another wave of light workers to come in. But it's a year-long container, and it's the most cost-effective to like work with me. We have 2 calls in 1 month, one everything business, one everything spiritual. We've got buddies and we've got master classes, and yeah, it's pretty awesome. The students are loving it. So much breakthrough, so much love, so much support happening. Lots of prayer, and then they get one-on-ones with me, and they get healing sessions with my team of healers. So it's a pretty magical journey. So if you guys, you know, want to explore that, again, visit ambervaldez.com or go to I am Amber Valdez on Instagram, and you can just like stalk me and see all the offerings and reach out and DM me.
Cool, man. Yeah, this was explosive. Yeah, it was worth the wait.
Yay.
Yeah, and your energy is always infectious, even though I know you're tired. You've been so fantastic.
I'm just getting used to being tired often, because that's just kind of like the ascension. So drink more water, we get rest, and I'm going to go get a womb healing right now by this beautiful Native American medicine woman who's a dear friend of mine, a former client. So I'm going to go do a womb healing and a yoni steam and take a bath, and it's going to be really healing for me because I'm been outputting a lot of energy. Birth, every time we launch something, it's like we're birthing. So get to give a little R&R to my womb, and yeah, I'm going to fill my cup back up. So thank you so much, Warren, and honoring all of you. Thank you guys for doing the good work on yourself. It matters, and you matter, and your light matters. So thank you for showing up.
Yeah, thanks a lot for your time again, and for your energy, and for your wisdom and knowledge. So until next time, guys, stay healthy, happy, whole, in whole being.